My 37-year-old husband and I, 35-year-old, have been married for 9 years with 2 children, a 5-year-old girl and an 8-year-old boy. Before we got married, we had a conversation about our wants and goals. 2 of our biggest goals were that he wanted a stay-at-home wife when we had children, and I wanted a small homestead. We agreed that I would not work and that we could have a small homestead. I used my savings to buy our house, which had 5 acres of land, so we wouldn't have to rent. Keep in mind that he didn't have any savings at the time. After about 3 months, I became pregnant with our son, and everything seemed wonderful. Fast forward 4 years later, and I'm pregnant with our daughter. I'm selling our vegetables, flowers, eggs, etc. from our homestead and making some cash on the side. My husband thinks it's great and jokes about how now he can relax. After our daughter was born, he starts complaining about wanting to spend more time with us and help with the homestead. I suggest he work part-time, which he does for 2 years. However, during the 2nd year, he barely helps with the homestead and instead plays a lot of video games. This wasn't a big deal at the time since I was used to doing the homestead on my own, and he still worked part-time. Then he quits his job and does nothing for a year. We argue almost every day. He drinks almost every day, plays video games, and has bonfires with his friends on our property. I've worked hard to get our land where it needs to be and have started a flower business and beekeeping for honey. This has made us more money and is the biggest reason why he quit his job. I sit down with him and have a conversation about why he doesn't help me and his behavior of drinking every day. He says he was just taking a break and that I owe him for paying the bills while I apparently lived it up at home. I explained to him that even though I don't work, I still contribute to our home. I cook meals almost every day, work hard on the land and in the house, take care of our children, and bought our house. He becomes irate and starts calling me names. Fast forward another year and he's still behaving the same way. His best friend from multiple states away moves 20 minutes away from us and starts talking to my husband about his behavior. He compliments me on our garden and flowers. My husband becomes irritated and mocks his friend when he's not around and accuses me of liking him. I tell my husband that he seems to be projecting his own feelings and that if he doesn't want his friend over, he should talk to him about it. He refuses and blames me. Fast forward 4 months. It's been 9 years now, and I'm at the end of my rope. My husband has become an alcoholic. His friends and family have tried talking to him, but he hates me and thinks I ruined his life. He calls me his goody-two-shoes wife, and I haven't given up on him until now, but I can't keep going like this. His best friend made a pass at me and offered to take care of me, saying that my husband has turned into a bum. I decline and tell my husband about it. A few nights ago, my husband had a bonfire party for his birthday. He got wasted and kissed one of his friend's wives, which led to a physical fight between him and his best friend. His best friend tells him he's not man enough for me, and they fight again. My husband yells at me, calls me his perfect goody-two-shoes wife, and smashes the homemade carrot cake I made for him. After the party, he wakes up our son with his yelling. My son yells at him to stop, but my husband doesn't listen. I try to calm my husband down, but he continues yelling in front of our child. My son tells him he hates him. My husband accuses me of turning our son against him. I put our son back to bed and reassure him that everything will be okay. My husband argues with me some more, passes out on the kitchen floor, and later leaves to go to his friend's house. I feel depleted. I've done my best. I don't drink alcohol, dress modestly, cook and clean, and I'm called a goody-two-shoes by my husband. I feel like it's my fault. Maybe I should have told him no years ago when he wanted to stop working, but he's a grown man. I don't know what to do or how to move forward, but I can't keep living like this. Our kids are starting to notice, and I don't want them to think this is normal. I don't even recognize my husband anymore. Did making money from our homestead emasculate him? Am I going to become a statistic? A single mom? It sucks because no one wants their family to fall apart, but I feel like there's nothing else I can do. I think therapy will be needed afterwards because I'm doubting myself. This morning he left for his friend's house and said that if I tried divorcing him, no one would want me and that he would take half of everything. But we signed a prenuptial agreement, and I think he forgot about that. Who says that to the person they love? I feel so depleted. Edit. I was able to set up an intervention with close friends and family. I took my kids to my mom's for the night to keep them safe. The friend he was with went along with it and brought him home. When he realized it wasn't a party but an intervention, he became angry. I ended up calling the police, and he was involuntarily committed for at least 72 hours. I talked to my lawyer and started the divorce process. I hope he wakes up and gets sober so he can be in his kids' lives, but he needs to make that choice himself. Thank you to everyone who commented. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Thank you to everyone, and sorry for not putting paragraphs, and I didn't mean for it to be so long. I appreciate everyone's comments. I need to stop being an enabler and just get a divorce. It sucks, but obviously, it's what I need to do. I had hoped he would open his eyes, but I can't wait around for that to happen because it's damaging our children. Thanks again to everyone. You all have helped me tremendously. It's so difficult when you want both parents for your children, but at some point you just have to face the music. I will take action today. Comment 2. When he sat around drinking and playing video games while you worked, that was the best time to take decisive action. Now is the second best time. Oh, in addition to the standard, nobody else will ever want you, and the trite, I'm going to take half of everything, prepare yourself for the I'm going to unalive myself. None of it means a damn thing. Take action, not the idiot. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support on my last post. It's been a rough couple of weeks since then, and I've got some updates that I need to get off my chest. After the intervention and my husband's involuntary commitment, I thought things might start to get better. But boy, was I wrong. The day he got out, he came straight home, and it was like a switch had flipped. He was calm, almost too calm. He apologized for everything and promised to change. I wanted to believe him, but I couldn't forget the past 9 years. Remember how I mentioned our prenuptial agreement? Well, turns out he did forget about it. He started talking about how he was entitled to half of everything, including the homestead that I bought with my savings before we were married. I reminded him of the prenup, and he lost it. He accused me of tricking him into signing it and said he would fight it. The next day, I found out from a mutual friend that my husband had been bragging about how he was going to take everything from me in the divorce. He said that since he had been the one working for most of our marriage, he deserved it. I couldn't believe it. Here I was, working the land, raising our kids, and managing our home, and he thought I was just living it up? But the real shock came when I went to check on our savings account. I had been so busy with the homestead and the kids that I hadn't kept a close eye on it. Almost all of our savings were gone. He had been withdrawing money for months, spending it on alcohol, video games, and who knows what else. I confronted him about it, and he just shrugged. He said that since he made most of the money, he could spend it however he wanted. I was furious. I had been contributing to our home in so many ways, and he didn't even see it. Things got even worse when his best friend, the one who had made a pass at me, came over to apologize. He said he had been out of line and that he was just worried about me. My husband saw us talking and completely lost it. He accused us of having an affair and started throwing punches. His friend left, and I was left to deal with my husband's rage. He started drinking even more, if that was possible. He would disappear for days at a time, leaving me to take care of everything. When he was home, he was either passed out or yelling at me and the kids. One night, he came home drunk and started a fire in the backyard. He was burning some of our old photos, screaming about how they were all lies. Our son saw and started crying, asking why Daddy was burning our memories. I had to drag my husband away from the fire and put it out before it spread to the house. I've been talking to my lawyer about everything, and she's been a huge help. She's confident that the prenup will hold up in court, but it's going to be a fight. My husband has gotten a lawyer too, and he's determined to take me for everything I have. I've been trying to keep things as normal as possible for the kids, but it's hard. They're scared of their father, and I don't blame them. I've been taking them to therapy, and it's helping, but they've been through so much. My best friend's wife tried to ruin us with lies, but a paternity test and her dad's truth exposed her game. The tables turned when the last 4 days have been the most horrible in my life. I have no idea how to deal with anything and wanted to get opinions on what to do next since I see posts like this on Reddit. My best friend's wife told him that she had an affair with me, which never happened. I, 35-year-old male, have been married to my wife, 35-year-old female, for 8 years. We have 2 wonderful kids. But this is about my friend Josh, 35-year-old male, and his wife Mary, 34-year-old female. I met Josh during my freshman year of college, and we have been friends ever since. We have always shared our love for tech, and he is always my go-to guy when I need someone to talk to. Josh started dating Mary 5 years ago. Let's say Mary has a very different set of morals than my wife or me. She is very loud, manipulative, and just craves attention. Josh and Mary had been dating on and off for 4 years. They broke up often, but somehow always ended up together after a few months. Mary is always the one who breaks up with Josh and then takes him back. I also know that Mary cheated on Josh at least with 2 guys when they were dating, but somehow convinced him that he was not putting enough effort into the relationship. Josh always blames himself for Mary not being happy. My wife also knows about all of this and has always kept her distance from Mary. However, we do meet her often during parties with friends. Josh and Mary got married last year. Last month, Josh found out that Mary was cheating on him again and had an affair with one of her coworkers. Josh was completely broken and stayed at our place for a week before going back and confronting Mary and kicking her out of the house. Josh bought the house before marriage, and hence, he had to get the cops involved to kick her out. From what we know, Mary moved back to her parents' house. I have been helping Josh through the process, and he filed for divorce last week. Last Saturday, Mary came to Josh's house to collect her stuff along with her dad. I had advised Josh to get out of the house when they came, but he wanted to make sure she did not take anything that did not belong to her. During her visit, Josh got into a fight with Mary, and Mary told Josh that she had an affair with me while they were married, and we used to do it in their bedroom. This is all 100% false. I have always known that Mary was trouble and kept my distance from her. I feel she is just trying to hurt Josh by saying that. After that incident, Josh got extremely agitated and came to our house. I saw he was distressed and knew something was wrong. As I opened the door, he started cursing at me and accusing me of sleeping with Mary. Luckily, the kids were not at home, but my wife and I were there, and we were both shocked by what he was saying. He tried to punch me, but luckily, he hit my shoulder and I was able to wrestle him to the ground and calm him down. I kept on telling him that what Mary told him was completely false and that I had never spent a single minute with her alone in my life. My wife threatened to call the cops, and he left. After he left, my wife was completely inconsolable. It took me hours to calm her down and convince her that Mary was manipulating Josh. I work from home and rarely leave my house without my wife or kids. I think she believes me, but she has been different for the last 4 days. Josh told a lot of my close friends that I was having an affair with Mary. He is not taking my calls or my wife's calls. My wife tried to call Mary, but she was also not taking our calls. All my friends, including Josh, think that I am the biggest jerk for getting involved with his freaking wife. I have no idea how to convince anyone that this is false. I'm just so frustrated. Can someone please give me advice on what I can do next? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Tell everyone to ask Mary for dates, times, and locations. If she cannot provide any of those things, then how can they believe her? If she does give random dates, times, or locations, this should be easy to disprove if you spend most of your time with your family. Your friend is in denial and angry, but the person who you need to reassure is the woman you call your wife. Scream from the rooftop to all your friends. Ask Mary for dates, times, and locations. If you want to call me a cheater and a jerk, then come at me with proof. Then have a deep conversation with your wife. If you say you have already done so, then do it again. One good way that most people do not think about is Google Maps. it tends to keep a good history, even if you do not think so. Maybe that can help. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Josh is a gullible, betrayed spouse. His wife lies and cheats on him like changing underwear. He is stupid to believe anything that comes out of her mouth. That being said, Josh is now lying about you. I would cut him and any friends that believe that shoot out of your life. If they are this fickle, they will betray you again. Mary named you for the sole purpose of hurting Josh. It worked. It took away his support system. Now, for the update. Hey Reddit, it's been 3 months since I last posted about the nightmare situation with my best friend Josh and his wife Mary. You guys gave me some solid advice, and I thought I'd update you on the chaos that's unfolded since then. After Josh accused me of having an affair with Mary, things went from bad to worse. My wife and I were in a rough spot. She believed me, but the tension was thick. We've always been a team, but this was testing us like nothing before. Meanwhile, Josh was spreading rumors like wildfire, and I was getting the cold shoulder from friends I've had for years. I decided to take some of your advice and get proof of my innocence. I dug up old work logs, chat histories, anything that could show I was never alone with Mary. It was exhausting, but I had to clear my name. My wife, bless her, was my rock through all this. She helped me compile everything, even though it was painful for her to see me accused of such betrayal. Then 2 weeks ago, something unexpected happened. Mary's dad called me. He'd always been a quiet man, not one to get involved in drama, but he was at his wits' end with Mary's antics. He told me he knew I was innocent and that Mary had confessed to him she made up the whole affair story to hurt Josh. He apologized for his daughter's behavior and offered to help set things straight. With this new ally, I approached Josh again. It took some convincing, but I finally got him to meet me at our old college hangout, where we'd spent countless hours talking about life and tech. It was there, with Mary's dad on speakerphone, that we laid everything out. Josh listened, his face a mix of anger, confusion, and relief as he realized the truth. The following days were a whirlwind of emotions. Josh went public with the truth, apologizing to me and my wife for not believing us. Our friends started reaching out, sheepish and apologetic for taking Josh's side without hearing me out. It was a bittersweet vindication. But just when I thought the drama was over, another news dropped. My wife, who had been acting a bit off, sat me down for a talk. She was pregnant, which was a shock since we hadn't planned on having more kids. The timing was complicated given everything that had happened. We were overjoyed but also scared about the future. As we were adjusting to the news, Mary reached out to me. She wanted to meet, claiming she had something important to tell me. Against my better judgment, I agreed, making sure to meet in a public place. Mary showed up, looking more subdued than I'd ever seen her. She confessed that the affair story was a lie, but then she dropped a bombshell that left me reeling. She claimed that during one of her and Josh's off periods, she and I had a drunken one-night stand. I was floored. I had no memory of such a night, and I told her as much. Mary then suggested that maybe I had been too drunk to remember. I left the meeting with Mary, feeling like I was in a tailspin. I knew I had to tell my wife about this new claim, no matter how ludicrous it seemed. When I got home, I found my wife waiting for me with a strange look on her face. She had something to tell me too. Turns out, my wife had done some digging of her own. She'd found out that Mary had been bragging to a mutual friend about her plan to break Josh and me apart. But there was more. The friend had also mentioned that Mary had a history of trying to trap men with false pregnancy claims. I was stunned. The pieces started to fall into place. Mary's manipulations, her lies, they were all part of a twisted game to her. My wife and I held each other, grateful for the truth but horrified at the lengths Mary had gone to. Now, we're trying to move on. The pregnancy has brought my wife and me closer together, and we're preparing for our unexpected addition. Josh is in therapy, dealing with the fallout of his marriage to Mary. And as for Mary, she's out of our lives for good, or so we hope. But just last night, another curveball was thrown our way. Josh showed up at our doorstep, looking more defeated than ever. He had a paternity test in his hand. Mary was pregnant, and the test confirmed he was not the father. He looked at me with a mix of hope and dread, asking if I would take a paternity test too. My wife laughed as she wrongly blamed my daughter for the allergy scare. Our 7-year marriage now hangs by a thread as the truth unravels. My wife and I have been married for 7 years. We both have 15-year-old daughters. My wife's daughter has lived with her dad her entire life. My wife is an excellent mother, but her ex was moving across the country, and she knew he could give her a better life than she can. 2 years later, they moved back to his home country, approximately 12 to 18 hours from us by plane. They flew my wife out to visit them a few times a year, and they sent her to visit us during her summer vacation. He got a job approximately a half hour from us, so we've had her 50-50 for the past few months. The thing is, we have a 2-bedroom/1-bathroom house in a good neighborhood. My daughter has had her own room her entire life, and she did not take it well when she heard she had to share. She's tried blocking my stepdaughter from their room, threw her stuff out the window, and tries to make my stepdaughter uncomfortable so she'll leave. Last week, my stepdaughter got here, sat on her bed, and almost immediately ran out coughing and covered in a rash. My wife had to use her daughter's EpiPen and called 911. We didn't have a car at home. She and her ex got into a fight at the hospital, and she got kicked out, and her ex is refusing to allow stepdaughter into the house. Ex is legally able to do this because he has full custody. We have a camera to monitor the dogs, and if the bedroom door is open, you can see into the girl's room. We had also just moved the camera and hadn't gotten around to telling my daughter yet. We decided to check the cameras, and we saw my daughter bringing nuts into the room and eating them on my stepdaughter's bed before touching everything my stepdaughter owns. My stepdaughter is deathly allergic to nuts. Nuts are not allowed in the house, but you are allowed to eat them in the garage, and you have to scrub your hands before you come back in. My wife, understandably, was furious when she saw it. She stormed into the girl's room, started screaming at my daughter, and told her to get the frick out of her house. I talked my wife into letting my daughter pack a bag, and I arranged for my brother to pick her up. My wife is adamant that my daughter is no longer allowed to step foot inside her house. We filed a police report, and the plan is for her to stay in a group home or boarding school for the next couple years. Now, my family and my daughter's mom are pressuring me to leave my wife so I don't have to send my daughter away, but I'm refusing to leave, and I agree with my daughter's punishment because she nearly ended the life of a person and caused my wife to lose her daughter. Ex isn't letting her into his house. Now I'm being called a bad parent by everyone except my brother, who is putting her to work on his farm until we find a more permanent arrangement for choosing my wife over my kid. Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. This is a hard punishment for your daughter to bear, but she did an absolutely terrible thing. She acted with intent to seriously harm your stepdaughter and essentially risked her life for this little stunt. 15 is young, but not too young to understand the gravity of her transgression. If your wife is to have any chance of salvaging her relationship with her daughter, she needs to demonstrate that she has acted decisively to protect her daughter from further harm in this situation. If you leave your wife, then your daughter gets at least part of what she wanted to achieve. Comment 2. Does anyone else remember reading an Am I the Idiot? Written by a 15-year-old girl who didn't want to share her room with her stepsister, who had recently moved to town with her father from abroad. This sounds suspiciously like the same family, but from the daughter's perspective, except that the daughter didn't mention anything about nearly unaliving her stepsister, so she was getting all the sympathy. I'll try to find the thread, but oh my God, if this is the same family. Now for the update. A lot has happened since my last post, and I've been trying to wrap my head around the chaos that's unfolded in our family. The situation with my daughter and stepdaughter has spiraled into a mess that's been tough to navigate. After the incident with the nuts, things got even more heated. My wife's ex, who has full custody of my stepdaughter, has been relentless. He's been using the situation to paint my wife as an unfit mother, even though she's been nothing but caring and supportive to both girls. It's been a tough pill to swallow, seeing her struggle with the guilt and the accusations. My daughter, meanwhile, has been staying with my brother on his farm. She's been helping out with chores and tending to the animals, which has been good for her, I think. It's given her time to reflect on her actions and the severity of what she did. But it's also been hard on her, being away from home and dealing with the fallout of her actions. The tension between my wife and me has been palpable. She's been adamant that my daughter can't come back to our house, and I've been torn. I love my wife, and I understand her position, but it's been tough to reconcile that with the fact that my daughter is out there, feeling like she's been abandoned by her own father. My family and my daughter's mom have been pressuring me nonstop. They think I'm being too harsh on my daughter and that I should leave my wife to be with my kid. But I can't just abandon my wife when she's going through so much. It's a no-win situation, and I've been losing sleep over it. The police report we filed led to an investigation, and my daughter had to face the consequences of her actions. It was a tough moment, watching her realize the gravity of what she'd done. She's been attending counseling sessions, and it's been a slow process, but I think she's starting to understand the impact of her behavior. My stepdaughter, on the other hand, has been staying with her dad. He's been keeping her away from our house, which has been hard on my wife. She misses her daughter terribly, and it's been a struggle to find ways to connect with her, given the distance her ex is putting between them. But then, something unexpected happened. My stepdaughter reached out to me. She missed her mom and wanted to see her. We arranged a secret meeting at a local park, and the look on my wife's face when she saw her daughter was something I'll never forget. It was a moment of pure joy amidst all the turmoil. The meeting was a turning point. My stepdaughter confided in us that she didn't blame her mom for what happened, and that she understood it was my daughter's doing. She also admitted that she missed our home and wanted to come back. It was a bittersweet revelation, knowing that she still loved us but couldn't be with us because of her dad's decisions. In a surprising turn of events, my stepdaughter's words seemed to reach her dad. He called my wife out of the blue, and they had a long, intense conversation. It seemed like he was finally seeing things from our perspective, and he agreed to let my stepdaughter visit our home under certain conditions. My daughter, meanwhile, has been making progress. She's been more remorseful and has been actively working on making amends. She wrote a heartfelt letter to my stepdaughter, apologizing for her actions and the pain she caused. It was a small step, but an important one. As for my wife and me, we've been working on our relationship, trying to navigate this complex situation together. It's been a ride of emotions, but we're committed to each other and to finding a way through this. And then just when we thought things couldn't get more complicated, my wife found something that changed everything. While cleaning the house, she stumbled upon a hidden stash of nuts in my daughter's old room. It was clear that my daughter had been hoarding them for some time, which meant that the incident wasn't just a one-time act of rebellion. We were shocked, but it also gave us the evidence we needed to show that my daughter's actions were premeditated. It was a tough realization, but it also meant that we could take steps to ensure my stepdaughter's safety in the future. The justice came in a subtle way. My daughter's counselor saw the stash and realized the depth of the issue. She recommended a specialized program for troubled teens, which my daughter agreed to attend. It was a chance for her to get the help she needed and to start on a path to redemption. As for my stepdaughter, she's been visiting more frequently, and we've been taking precautions to ensure her safety. My wife's ex has softened his stance, and it seems like he's starting to trust us again. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.